Hey, Art of Likability family. This week's episode is brought to you by the good folks over at FreshBooks Accounting. They completely updated their software to make it really super simple. So if you need to send out invoices, get paid online, and keep track of your expenses really simply, they got you covered. Go to freshbooks.com/Arel. They're going to have a little section that says, how did you hear about us? Make sure to put the Art of Likability podcast and get a 30-day free trial. Let's jump into this week's episode.
Welcome to the Art of Likability, ranked one of the top podcasts in the world. In this podcast, you'll discover how to leverage likability to build stronger relationships, lead more efficiently, close more sales, and keep customers happy while increasing success in your professional and personal life. Let's jump in with your host, Arel Moody.
What's going on, Art of Likability family? Arel Moody here, your host of the Art of Likability podcast, where we teach you the skills you need to take your relationships to the next level. Professional, personal, whatever, tickling your fancy. We help people become more likable and get the it factor. If that's what you want, you're in the right place. This is what we do weekly, consistently, for your betterment and enjoyment and stuff. This week, I want to talk about something that I think is very important for dealing with it's an inevitability of life. So we've talked about in the past how to handle when people don't like you, right? So we've discussed that, listen, there's just 5% of the population that no matter what you do, no matter how likable you are, no matter how many episodes of the Art of Likability podcast you listen to, you're just going to rub them the wrong way. Usually it's down versus up. It's rubbing. You rub something down. It's like that sofa from your grandma's house where you rub it one way and there's a color. Then you rub it the other way and there's a different color. You know what I'm talking about visually. You can see it. It's like a suede, whatever. Anyway, listen. So as you know, I talk about actually something personal that happened to me because I think it's a great example of what to do and how to deal with it. So I love reading the reviews that I get on iTunes, and we have such an incredible Art of Likability family. We've got over 300 or so reviews right now. Shout out to all y'all leaving that 5-star review. I see you, right? So I got the first 2-star review where someone left a very unhappy. They were just scathing. They were just so disappointed in me as a podcaster that they left this very detailed reason why they dislike me and the podcast. And I was like, oh, word. And it was fascinating because usually when I get that little alert that we have a new review, I kind of I check it out, say, okay, how's the podcast been helping people? How's it been working? Because, I really care about this. And it just was someone who was very unhappy with it, and they just didn't like it. And they said they're no longer listening to it. They found it wasn't helpful. And I was like, word? Because there's 300 other people almost who found it very helpful from a review perspective and just hundreds of thousands of others. We need some more 5-star reviews, people, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. That's just a personal thing, okay? But anyway, the thing is, I read it and it was shocking for me, right? Because when you're creating something that you love, right? So this podcast really is a labor of love. It's something that I've been doing we're coming up on a 4th year, and I just genuinely think it's for the betterment of the world, the betterment of people, making people more likable is just so important, because I think if we can treat each other better, have better conversations, have more confidence, so much good comes from that. So when someone doesn't like your work, like what you do, what you care about, there's this moment of oh, it hurts. It hurts on my inside, right? And, I kind of read it and I looked at it, and I think there's always something to be gained when someone has some criticism for you. There's something there for you. But what's interesting was I looked at the criticism of the show. I realized that it was more of a criticism of who I was, not just what I did in terms of how I spoke. And I realized something, whenever I look for feedback, and I say, can I improve? Whenever there's a criticism, I always go, you know what, there's something There's something here. Let me see what I can get. And then there's things that are just like, yo, this is just who I am. Like, this is who I am, man. Like, it ain't gonna really be much different if you met me in person or wherever. It's like I'm not gonna change my personality type because someone doesn't like it. But what was interesting is I sat down and I thought about it and I processed it, and something very, very, very important struck me. As we talked about that 5%, there's just going to be people who don't like you. But it was someone who actually said they listened to the podcast for a year and they didn't get value from it. And I was like, wow, you've been listening for a year? You didn't really get much value out of it. A friend of mine said that's kind of like being a Cleveland Browns fan. Like, you're just a glutton for pain. Like, why do you keep coming back? Like, it's statistically true. Cleveland Browns didn't win any games this year. If you follow NFL, it was a tough year to be a Cleveland Browns fan. My friend's from Ohio. It's tough for him. I'm a New York Knicks fan. All right. If you don't know anything about basketball, Knicks have not won a championship in my lifetime. Okay. I think we've been to the playoffs like 3 times. It's difficult. Okay. Let's move on. It's personal pain. It's sore. Okay. It's just sore. It's not like New England Patriots. Guys just Super Bowling it up probably right now. Probably winning it. I don't know. Let me guess what's going to happen in the Super Bowl. Here's my Super Bowl prediction. If you listen to this before the Super Bowl, Patriots trail in 3 quarters, and they make a magical comeback and win in the 4th. It's just my prediction. Let's see what happens. But anyway, here's my point. You have to, in your life, realize how much of your focus, your attention that you put towards things that are good versus things that are maybe don't feel so good. Whether they're bad or not is irrelevant. But what happens is the human mind, we have a natural inclination to hold on tight to those things that were wrong, the things that were judged, the things that were not good. And it's difficult. We see people making really horrible personal choices because of feeling bad about themselves. What if you actually get present to all the good that's in the world? It's in the good that you create specifically. There's so much beauty in the world. Now, here's something that's important too, that when you hear a criticism, especially if it's something you love, like if it's something you put your heart and soul into, like let's say you decide like, yo, I'm going to put a blog out, and then you put a blog out and somebody doesn't like it or criticizes it, or you say, let me put out a video and you get criticized, or you raise your hand and share an idea at work and it doesn't go over well. And all of a sudden you start feeling like, oh man, maybe that's the real me, the thing that didn't work. I always find it interesting whenever someone says, now we know the real person because there was this one mistake that they made. That one mistake really doesn't define you. You define what that mistake means to you, right? So if it's a mistake, it's a mistake. If it's a criticism, it's a criticism. The criticism doesn't define you. You define what the criticism means to you. And I encourage all of us, if we can really change focus, if we can focus on all that's going right in our lives, all that's going right in the world, I think that you'll find there's way more things for you to focus on that's going well. I was having a conversation with a friend about goals and, kind of what we want to do in 2018 and that kind of stuff. And, you start thinking about when you set goals, it's kind of sometimes when you set goals, it comes from a place of lack. Like, here's what I don't have and here's what I want. So let me focus on it, right? That's kind of what we do. And what's interesting is there's so much that you have right now. Like, if you really think about it and get present to it, that a couple of years ago, you probably wished you had the ability to have that maybe you've taken for granted. I had a friend who said she had a car that was an old car. It would never start. Well, it would start, not that it would never start, but sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. You never knew. And it was always this kind of like, is today the day it's going to start? Is today the day it's not going to start? All that stress. And, she has a new car now and she's financially in a place where she can own a new car. She doesn't even think about it anymore. Something that used to be like a everyday kind of like, oh my gosh, is the car going to start? Now it's like, yo, she get in the car, turn the ignition on, she knows it's good. And it's so easy to take these things that we wanted for so long, that we cared for so long, that we now have and take for granted, whether it's the impact we have in people's lives, the help that we've given to so many people. Maybe you're in a profession, maybe you're in school right now, and maybe, you didn't always have the profession that you have now, or have the wealth that you have now, or have the health that you have now. You may be in a position where maybe things in certain areas aren't going well. What are the areas that are going well? It's all about our attention and our focus. If we focus on the areas of our lives that are not going well, you'll for sure feel really bad. But if you kind of, process your emotions, feel the feelings. It's not like you don't feel, like feel the feelings, and then focus on all that's good. It'll be amazing. Like right now, there's a lot you can focus on. It's by the way, just so you know, we're sponsored. This episode is sponsored by the good friends over at FreshBooks, right? So it's about tax season. People are getting in 1099s. They're filing for taxes. FreshBooks is a really great resource that will allow you to file and focus on the stuff you want to focus on and save time. They literally save like hundreds of hours of time with their software. So if you go to freshbooks.com/Arel, you can get a 30-day free trial, compliments on them. So you can see how you can put your focus maybe away from bookkeeping and put your focus on the things that you actually want to do and care about. So check out their software. It's really, really cool. If you need to get your stuff together, it's pretty legit. But it's about focus. It's about creating the time and energy to focus, because our minds naturally are just, unfortunately, they're negative. They go to a negative place. If it's like a garden, it's my favorite analogy for the mind, that the mind's like a garden, that you don't need to water a weed. You don't need to care for a weed. A weed will grow on its own. However, a beautiful flower needs cultivation, needs the soil to be cared for, to be enriched with nutrients, to be watered, to have proper sunlight, proper shade. All of these things have to happen to get beautiful flowers. But a weed takes no time, no energy, and it'll just start sprouting up. You don't even know where it came from. It just shows up. Those are the negative thoughts. Those are the times when we focus on the things that aren't going right in our life. It's almost like if you just let your mind chill, it will go negative. It's what the mind does. I think it's survival. And when you get criticized, or you get made fun of, or you get, someone sending you an angry email, or employee not appreciating something that you felt like they should appreciate, whatever it is, it's so easy to just lock in on it like a heat-seeking missile and think about it and talk about it like, oh, I don't care about what they say. Well, I don't care. Well, you're human. Like, why does everyone say like you don't care? Like, that's the way to do it. Like, I mean, people care. Of course, how could you not care about someone saying something, poor about something that you love or something you believe in, or about yourself, right? Like, how could you not feel it? But the thing isn't to stay there. It's just to feel it. It's a great analogy of a dark tunnel. A lot of times with feelings, dark tunnel specifically, let's say you run halfway down a dark tunnel, right? And you get scared, or you get hurt, or you get fearful, and you go, I don't like this. So you run back to where you came from. So you go halfway in and then halfway back. Well, if you just would have kept running into it, you would have gotten out to the other side, which is the same distance than if you ran halfway and ran back. So sometimes you have to just allow yourself. I give you permission. If no one's ever given you permission to try this, I give you permission to try to just feel your emotions. Feel what it feels like to feel disappointed, to feel upset. Process it fully. Like, literally sit there and go, what am I feeling? I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling like, oh, maybe is what they're saying true? Oh, maybe this is the real me. Oh, maybe I should just stop. Oh, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I can't do something well. I thought it was good, but it's not. Oh, it's reminding me of my time in high school when I got made fun of all the time, right? Process it. Like, literally all the feelings that come up, go through them. Go through those feelings. And on the other side of them, you go, okay, I went through it. I processed it. What's going good? Well, I got, look at all these people that did say something was good. Look at all the people who have been in my life that I love. Look at the relationships I have. Look at the health that I have. Look at the business. Look at my job. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Bow, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, you're like, man, if I really, one of the things I started doing many years ago is I start my day with gratitude. So I do a prayer sequence. So I'm Jewish. I don't know if this is a Jewish prayer. I pray to God. If you pray or don't pray, do your thing. I'm going to tell you how you live your life. I like the God, like the central force that created everything. That works for me. So I'm going to tell you my perspective. Okay, maybe it'll work for you, right? The G-D, right? So the sequence that I do is I start with kind of like praise almost, like, blessed are you, Lord, the greatest being that's ever existed, that created all things. I kind of do this like, I'm like acknowledging like, you the best, right? Then I go through, here are the things that I want, right? So then there's my request phase. So it's that, hey, let me just acknowledge you. You're the person who gives everything, so you're the best. Let me acknowledge how great you are. Let me tell you about what I want, what I want to work towards, why it's important to me. And then I go through all of these things that I'm grateful for. I do this every morning as part of a routine prayer sequence that I do, right? So I do this every morning. Now, what's fascinating is I think some people sometimes when we pray for things, we just ask for what we want, but then we never, kind of focus on all the stuff we're grateful for. So it's kind of like, imagine if someone came to you and said, hey, give me this, give me this, give me this. It's like, okay, get some acknowledgement for stuff I already gave you, right? So what's interesting is I actually started to notice myself getting a little bit annoyed because of how long it took. Because I would, go through the first two parts pretty quickly. You're the best. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King, universe, master of all creation, King of all kings. I go through that. Here's what I want. Boom, boom, boom. And then I go, here's what I'm grateful for in my life. And I found that what I'm grateful for part, it would take so long, right? Because if you really start talking about like grateful for my sight, grateful for my body function the way it should, grateful for my kids, grateful for my wife, grateful for my health, grateful for you keeping me safe, grateful for the money I have in my bank account, grateful for the experiences I had, grateful for the places I've traveled to, the places I will travel to, grateful for the clients that I've worked with, grateful for the speaking engagements, grateful for the people who've sent me amazing messages on the podcast. Thank you for my friend. It's like, it started taking forever. And I was like, it's kind of annoying that I have so much to be grateful for. And then I was like, Aurel, what are you talking about, man? How cool is it? Like to have so much to be grateful for. And then it started becoming beautiful, So I encourage you, the next time you get criticized or something that you love doesn't get the attention or the appreciation that you might feel that you hoped it would, process it. So step one, acknowledge it, feel it. Don't push any of the feelings away. It doesn't make you weak to process a feeling. It doesn't make you less of a person. It actually makes you a strong, emotionally sound adult, right? I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. It reminds me of this. It makes me think this. Go through all of it. Then go, okay, look for this. Step two is where's the actual so every criticism, by the way, there could be a nugget of benefit in there. Could be. Not always, but many times. You're like, okay, I could do this better. I could do that. I could do this. That sounds good. Right? Okay, I could see that. I could see why I would say that. That was good. My breath stank. I had stinky breath. They called me out on my stinky breath. It hurt my feelings, but listen, I didn't brush my teeth as well as I could have in the morning, so that's why I got stinky breath. So maybe I should brush my teeth. Maybe I don't floss enough. That's not true. I hate flossing. I don't floss enough. Oh, the mouthwash, the tongue scraping. I don't do any of those things. Maybe I should. Okay, so there's some positive things. The next thing is to say, is this who you are? That's the next thing, the criticism. Are they criticizing who you are? For example, if the criticism of my breath stinks, it's my breath. I can change my breath. But if it's I don't like the way you talk, it's well, look, that's the way I talk. This is the way I sound. This is just my natural inclination. That's not going to change. So you don't worry about those things. You don't worry about the things that are who you are, right? So don't worry about those. So you look for the kernel, then you see, is it, a what or is it a who? If it's a what, you can, see if there's anything there that you can grow. If it's a who, be authentically you. Don't let anyone ever tell you who to be who you are, right? And then finally, you wrap it up with listing all the things that you're grateful for that is going well. And you have to refrain from going, nothing's going well. Look, if you can even have the freedom to think nothing's going well, it's pretty good, because there's people in this, world who are imprisoned and are living just way horrible. Whatever you think your horrible life is, someone's living way more horrible. Like, if you're listening to a podcast, you have the technology to listen to a podcast. Be grateful for that, because there's people who don't have access to that kind of stuff. If you're driving a car, you're in a car, like, that's cool. There's a lot of people who don't have a car. So you just got to get really present with things that you could take for granted that you actually should be grateful for. So move from taking for granted and move to gratefulness. And you'll be amazed at how beautiful life feels to you, how much you like it, and how much you can deal with the challenges of life. Because if you create, you will get criticized. There's just no way around it. If you don't believe me, go to any YouTube video and look in the comment section. Find me a video that's got all positive comments and there's like over 100 comments. Find me one. Tweet. If you could do it, tweet it to me at Aurel Moody. I would love to see it. But for the most part, there's no way around it. So just be grateful for what you have and know that creators will get criticized. So if you're someone who wants to be of impact and make a difference, you'll get criticized. Go through the process I told you in this podcast, and I promise you'll deal with it in such a beautiful way. So please make sure, if you have found value in this podcast, this episode, subscribe if you haven't done so. Please click that subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Farmers Only. I don't know where you're listening to this, and I'm not going to judge either. But if you like it, leave me a 5-star review. And remember, the information on this podcast will not help you in any way. It will not. The information means nothing. The application of this information, I promise you, will absolutely, positively impact your life. Sending you a big old high five. You are awesome. Psh.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, The Art of Likability, and reach out with any questions you have. Until next time, remember, my friend, you are awesome.